I start by introducing DC. DC Simon Juntak is currently assistant professor at the National Shanxi University, Taipei in Taiwan. She's also visiting researcher at the National Research and Innovation Agency of BRIN, which is actually a national research council of Indonesia. And then associate fellow at ISIS, Yusuf Ishak Institute in Singapore. This is main expertise in South Asia democracy, Indonesian politics, democracy and decentralization. DC obtained her PhD in political anthropology from University of Amsterdam. The second panelist is Venerable Napan Santibhaddo, Thawornbanjob. I guess Thawornbanjob is his family name. He is assistant Abbot at the Golden Mount Temple over Saket in Bangkok, Thailand. He is also director of the Institute of Buddhist Management for Happiness and Peace. Venerable Napan founded what it's called For Beautiful Life Group in 2001 and was the chair until 2015. He has designed and led trainings for Buddhist community leaders in southern Thailand affected by violent conflicts to heal the victims and prevent further conflicts. Interestingly, he used the term conflicts, while the Thai government tried to avoid this term, conflict. Venerable Napan obtained his bachelor degree in education and public administration from Sukhothai Open University. And then he earned 2 master degrees from Thammasat, one from Thammasat University, and he received the Chevening Scholarship to pursue the second master degree in organizational communications from University of Leeds in the UK. And then last but not least, our another panelist, Dr. Fuadi Pitsuwan. He is currently the president of Surin Pitsuwan Foundation, which promotes education, diplomacy, and human security for young South Asian. And he just got his PhD from University of Oxford after, his bachelor degree in international affairs at Georgetown University, and then his master degree at Harvard University. He was, I think you are still working as a fellow at Chiang Mai University. Interestingly, he started working with coffee farmers on doi, I don't know which doi, but in Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai. And the goal is really to develop and export coffee beans. Completely different from his study record, but I found it very interesting. There might be some sort, in coffee. I understand from some of your interviews. And as I said, we have prepared some guiding questions. And I guess you all got the questions already. Of course, I would like this conversation to be as natural as possible, although questions are already prepared, but I would like conversation to free flow as much as possible. You'll be getting more or less the same questions, but as I said, conversations should be there. So I will start with the first question, which is, and don't forget that we are talking about religions and human rights. And although you adhere to different religion, I just want to make a disclaimer here that you are not representing, any particular religion that you adhere. So you'll be speaking on your own capacity as an academic here. the first question is, I wonder if you see any contributions of religions to human rights, maybe, from principles point of view or from conceptual from point of view, and if religion help to promote and protect human rights at all, in your opinion. May I start with Dizzy?
Okay, thank you, Ajahn, for the question. First, when I was given this question from you, Ajahn, and I was thinking, what could be, the relations between religion and human rights? And the first thing that came to my mind, because I'm both a political anthropologist and political scientist, then the conflictual nature of their relations, the first thing that came to my mind was that, right? But first of all, we have to agree that religion is not a sui generis, right? Or a unique phenomenon that is detached from culture. We cannot see religion as a specific, only as a particular identity that is not connected to culture. In fact, religion, ethnicity, language, physical features, and other identity markers are essential elements of culture. And sometimes it's involuntary, right? It's primordial, involuntary. So having established that religion is part of culture, we also know that human rights, even when we believe that it is universal, it is still influenced by culture. And culture is not universal, it's contextual. So culture, and in this way also religion, has an ambiguous role for the promotion of human rights, because culture is both a resource and a constraint of human rights. And maybe we can talk about this later. This is just my, my musing, my introduction, and as a resource of human rights, culture is some sort of a lens through which people can perceive the world around them. People kind of form their idea of high moral, high morality, and thus can help them sustain their faith in rights and universal dignity, which is very important for human rights, right? But as a constraint as well, culture can impede the promotion of human rights.
That
So
actually, DC would be the second question. But for me, when I look at religions, I believe, always, teach people to behave with each other in the way that you want them to behave, with you. And if we look from that kind of lens, that kind of perspective, then we might see some contributions, of religion to human rights. Though you said that human rights is related to religion from the lens of culture, and culture is contextualized. I think this is something which could be quite interesting to pursue, our conversation, which is related to the notion or the debates on universality of human rights and particularities, which are something that we'll be pursuing our conversation later. But I guess is an interesting opening. Fuadi, what do you think?
Thank you very much, Ajahn, Dr. Desi and Ajahn Sipapha. For me, I see a lot of similarity between religion and human rights. Religion is similar to human right in the fact that it requires a belief. It requires a total belief. It's a belief, though, that cannot be subjected to actual scientific proof, and the most gracious. It is fundamentally the same nature as saying that humans have rights to freedom of speech. But by what I mean by that, it cannot be proven. It requires a moral commitment that has to be believed. It cannot be tested, cannot be proved. Human right is very elusive. It's ill-defined. it's very much it's a natural law and it's the idea of inalienable and inherent. In other words, human rights is a fundamental moral commitment. It is at the end of the day a belief which is similar to religion, and like religion, which is subject to personal questions, personal subjected to its rules being violated. Human rights also get violated easily because it doesn't have that provable scientific test being testable in that way. So I think in a lot of ways, these two concepts are quite similar. I want to lay that out as a foundation, right? But to echo what Dr. Daisy have already said, and then there are 4 other frameworks that I want to lay out, and we can talk more about this later, right? Then there is religion as a source, right? And then there is the difference between the source and the practice, right? The source mean like what have the Quranic verses, the Quran, the text, the Bible, the Torah, the religious texts in Buddhism say about human rights. And then there is a difference between what those says and what our society in different contexts, different government of different religion actually practice those, right? The source and the difference between the source and practice. And also, like Dr. Daisy has alluded to this, the constraint, the shortfall of these texts, of this written rule, written proposal within the religious text. So there is that constraint. And then lastly, we also have to look at how to overcome those constraints. I think some religions have done that better than the other. So these 4 frameworks, right? Source versus practice, constraint versus overcoming those constraints going forward. I think these are the framework that I hope we could touch on.
Thank you, Fuadi.
Thank you.
I think two issues you brought up, which I found quite interesting. The first one is a kind of similarities between human rights and religions. Of course, you refer to Islam, that they are both present what we call moral commitments related to natural laws and could not be scientifically proved. I may agree with you that I find at least one difference here. One is the fact that, human rights is legalized. So you got international human rights laws, which at some point, some of the terminologies or concept might be ill-defined or not defined in the law. But, there is a kind of what we call a minimum standard below which you cannot go. I guess that might be, the main difference. But in the same time, we cannot deny that both human rights and religions present moral commitments, that we behave to each other. I fully agree with you on that. The second point, which is the practice, and that was the point that DC has already mentioned, which is contextualized. And I think, when we talk about international human rights laws, since I have been teaching international human rights law for 26 years, interestingly, international human rights law are subject to different interpretations. And these are where, religions, cultures, and many others actually affect the practice of human rights enshrined by international human rights law. So we'll be coming back to this later. Venerable Napan, your thought on contribution of Buddhism to human rights?
Yes, thank you, Ajahn Dr. Siprapha, and good morning to Ajahn Dr. Daisy and Ajahn Dr. Fuadi, and also the may I say Ramadan Mubarak to Ajahn Fuadi as well. For me, I think we need to keep in mind about two words. One, it's text, what the Buddha taught in his own time. And second about is context. Context in his own time, in the Buddha time, when he spread his teaching around the area, and also the context of the modern world, the present world, the recent world right now. Regarding principle, so many teaching kind of the help people to have human right or prevent rulers and the ordinary people to violate human rights of each other. And also some of the teaching like Chakodiwat or the duty of the great ruler also talk about the protection, the right protection for people in the palace and to the even the animals and environmental. So I think our religions, including Buddhism, share a lot of contribution to human right by principle, because each religion itself, we have religion to live together coexistently, but it's kind of the two sides of the one coin. We saw many wars happen because of each side want to protect their own religions. So in conclusion, I think Buddhism have many teachings, and also the main purpose of Buddhism also try to provide human right in the different terminology in the Buddha own time by focusing on economic leader, political leader, intellectual and spiritual leader. So because of that, the Buddha made it happen already, the idea about human right, and also the mechanism to protect human right.
So from principle point of view, you see the contribution, the clear contribution of Buddhism to human rights. I guess we can refer to the 5 principles of Buddhist teaching. But then in practice, as far as I'm not, I myself, I do not adhere to any particular religion. I respect all religion, and on my ID card there is no religion not in it. So you talk about the text, which I found quite interesting, because if we look at the text of in Quran, the text, the teaching text of Buddhism, or the Bible, of Christianity and Catholic, they all teach people to love each other, to help each other. I think from principle point of view, we all agree that there are contributions of religions to human rights. But in the same time, if we look at the context of practice here, then we see that human rights violations are continuing, and there are also conflicts, between particular groups of adhering to particular religions. And interestingly, a few of my students, for your information, Napan, a few of my former students, they actually study, for example, death penalty and Buddhism. And one of them, she interviewed 25 Buddhist monks and Buddhist academics. Interestingly, the statistic and the interview shown that over 80% of Buddhist monks and Buddhist scholars actually support death penalty. And in the past, I still recall in 2016, when there was a student uprising. And again in 2019, when I was myself student at Thammasat University, a few very well-known Buddhist monks, call for killings of those, presumed to be communists, for example.